your award, and he's going to take it from here. Thank you, Scott.
Welcome. First of all, thank you all for being here. It's always good to see why we're doing this. I can't talk any louder, sorry. I'll try. Thanks for being here. As you can see, this is why we're doing what we're doing with the expansion, as everybody's finding places to even just stand. I want to start off just by thanking everyone that's been involved, whether you've given, pledged, been involved in the many committees, the meetings that we had. I want to especially thank the expansion committees, the building expansion committees, the finance committee, all the vestry who's been involved over the years, 10 years in the making, and anybody else who's been behind the scenes. Most everybody in this room has probably been involved in some way. But thank you so much. So we're going to have a lot of information. We wanted to start off with our campaign prayer. So if y'all would join me in prayer. Heavenly Father,
we thank you for blessing our St. Lawrence family. We come to you with grateful hearts, asking for your guidance in all the details of this capital campaign. Remind us to seek you first before every decision is made. Give us a spirit of unity and generous hearts. Direct us to build up your church that is rooted in truth. Expand these walls so that they may honor you and bring others to know you and love you. We ask these things in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ. Amen.
Like Father John said, I know there's probably lots of questions. We're going to try to hold those to the end. Hopefully we answer most of them in this presentation. But we have a lot of information, but just know that you have entrusted a lot of important decisions to a lot of people who have done a lot of great work. We have a lot of amazing people who've been a part of these committees, experts in these different fields, which has been pretty amazing how that's come together. But we will start with David Hayes. He's going to give us information about kind of the financial situation. Oh, I'm sorry, Greg Jones.
Well, on behalf of Mark, Lisa, and I, we just really want to thank everybody again for all the hard work. First of all, we want to thank God for bringing us through this. Just think of all the things God has done for us in the parish, taking us through the lawsuit, an effective capital campaign. There's a lot more He's going to do for us through the building of this process. So thank you to those who had 20-plus homes that were offered to do some of the in-home discussions and things that we had. I want to thank over 100 people that was part of this campaign, which has just been tremendous. What was our goal? 5.6 million. You're going to see some really good news on how we are financial. You'll also see some challenges as far as things that God's going to continue to take us through. But I've just got all the confidence in the world. I thank so many of you who have contributed, who got us to the numbers that we're at, and it's just very exciting. So just thank you so much. You're going to see some great information, more information that I can provide. If you want to hear from me, but again, on behalf of Mark and Lisa, if you guys have anything else you want to say, or carry on with David Hayes in finance.
Okay, so as you know, original campaign, we set out to get 5.6 million. We started with 447,000 at the beginning of January 1st, carry over. We had 195 families that pledged roughly $4.05 million so far. As you know, we've talked about this at the annual meeting. We had a FEMA grant of $150,000 put towards security measures. We're right now still gaining interest on all the money that's coming in. So we have interest income of about $40,000. And we had a very generous bequest that was given to us for 1.6 million. So in total, we have 6.31 million to put towards the So yes, God has been very good. So let's transition to construction, and I'll invite Shay to come up and talk about that.
everyone. Good to see you all again. So I'm going to be a little bit of the reality check. Yeah, I joked. I said I'm not going to be clapped at. That's okay. That's okay. We've got a lot of information we'll go through here, and this specifically, I'm happy to stay after and go through some of this in detail with you. But we're going to go through some of the construction costs. So flashing back a little close to 2 years, a little over 2 years ago, we got some updated construction numbers. That is what we set the 5.6 million target at for the project that we're proposing. In general, the bids that we got back were all higher than expected, and then folks that we talked to that didn't even bid the project were higher. So the North Texas construction market is something I'll speak to a little bit, but it is the energy behind these costs being so high. And if you're paying attention as you drive around, you see the activity in the market. Construction is still going full speed. Development is still going full speed. Specifically with our project, we vetted over a dozen firms to potentially bid the project. We ended up with a list of 6 that we felt were qualified. And when we say they were qualified, we looked at contractors that knew South Lake, knew the area of North Texas, were familiar with not only church construction projects, but commercial construction projects, because the Parish Hall itself is as much a commercial building than anything else. So we requested bids from 6. We ended up with finalists of 3 firms. We had a very complicated matrix of why we chose this group versus the others, but it included things like cost, safety, history in the market, experience, and the direct relationship we would have with them and who would be working on our project. So we checked, we went through references and did a lot of background checks. So had 3 amazing finalists, and we were very excited about that. Once we interviewed them and made the expansion committee made a recommendation to vestry to select RJ Miller, RJM Contractors. That's who we have selected to go with. They do have over 30 years in North Texas. RJ himself, who has been a part of the process since the beginning, has over 47 years experience in construction. And they're just coming off a church project that they finished in Denton. Father Jordan had some conversations with that church and glowing reviews. It was incredible how positive they were about the RJ Miller experience. So they were also the lowest bidder by over $1 million. And, so we were very excited about that, and there were some specific reasons why once we dove into it, but that was a pretty significant delta there. We did spend the expansion committee spent over a month working with RJ Miller based on the guidance from the vestry to value engineer. If you're not familiar with that term, that means let's figure out whatever we can to make it cheaper. We're very excited that they were low bidder by $1 million, but we got to go more. And so we worked everything from windows to changing specific designs. After we've done all that, we've come to RJ Miller budget of $6.58 million. So that's one piece of the overall budget. So remember that number, 6.58. Why is this higher than 5.6? That is specifically related to the market conditions that I was talking about. So in my day job, I do land development for all kinds of projects, including churches. We're working on a dozen churches right now. And the North Texas market is the strongest market in the country when it comes to my world, which is development. So while we're looking at interest rates coming down and the general equity market is looking more positive over the next few months, the construction and development business has not slowed down. It has not seen the same crazy ramp up over the last 2 years. The contractors have not slowed down. Contractors have only been adding people, adding projects. They've got a lot of staying power. They've got a lot of cash on hand, so they don't have to lower their prices. And so what we've seen in this market, 2 years ago, what was 5.6 is now 7 million. 2 years from now, it will be 9 million. It will
absolutely, we have no doubt about that. And there are specific materials, you know, you might hear the cost of steel is going down, or you might hear the cost of wood is going down. And that is true on a macro level. There are some ups and downs in the materials. Our project, when we look at a project of a $5 to $7 million project, just its scale is going to put it in this budget range. So we are dealing with this, as blessed as we are with this community and this market, it's also a challenge financially because it is more expensive to do this. I still remember 10 years ago when Father Jordan and I talked about this, our initial budget was just under $3 million. Let that sink in for a second. That is incredible. But so like I said, see, I told you I wouldn't get clapped at. Appreciate that. So we're going to talk about some additional costs because the 6.58, you know, we talked about that number, but to save some money, and this is on a new project, but we decided to get a little creative with saving money. So we created, there's some buy owner or owner costs that in negotiating with the contractor, we can save some significant money if we do it ourselves or if we cash flow it ourselves. So a simple example is instead of having our contractor go buy a dozen couches for us, we'll buy the couches and we'll wait till it's time to buy the couches, and that'll save us a few $1,000s. So we're comfortable cash flowing some things like that. We've got so many amazing people in this church that have access to so many different things that will help us in this project. But when we add up the owner costs, you know, site testing, concrete testing, stuff like that, furniture, appliances, boy, that's gonna be a fun topic, appliances, by the way. AV equipment, all that stuff, $305,000. We do think we might be able to shave that a little bit more, but we're trying to be a little bit conservative here too. $150,000 in contingency, that's about 2.5% on the RJ Miller number. In general, with commercial projects, 5 to 10 million, we like to see 2 to 3% roughly of contingency. That's owner contingency. So that's kind of the oh crap fund. If you miss something, and we really need to put microwaves in it, we forgot microwaves or something. So this is not to be touched unless we decide we make a change and need to, or force majeure, something out of our control occurred, and we need to make a switch and do something. This project will be just under 2 years long total, so there's some market things that will change. So we're trying to secure prices now as much as we can. That's why the RJ Miller bid is so important. But that's our contingency money. We've got, because we're looking at doing the project on a more aggressive schedule, and I can explain that in a minute, but $362,000 potential interest expense on the construction loan. Oh, I'm sorry, wait, this was gonna be higher. The $362,000 is the interest on the loan that, it's basically the price you pay to do a construction project from the interest standpoint. We've been able to shave this down because instead of doing phase 1, new building, finish it, phase 2, current building, and then finish it, that was a long process and cost us hundreds of thousands of dollars, both on the contract side and on the interest side. So, but we still have to account for the interest. And then $90,000 pedestrian bridge. We are looking at how we get people from the back parking lot over to the new Parish Hall, the new facilities, things like that. So we're looking at a pedestrian bridge that goes over, high over that creek behind the music building, for reference. Here's a quick total. Now I'm trying to go fast because we don't have a lot of time. RJ Miller with insurance 6.58, additional $900,000 in stuff that we just covered. That's the bad news. 7.48. I say bad news. Again, in a few years it's going to be a lot worse than that. But 7.48 is kind of our catch-all number. Now let's spend a few minutes talking about the new bridges because this is very important to the overall project. It's also some of the single biggest ticket items when you look at construction costs. Pedestrian bridge, we're talking about $90,000. That's what's going to connect the back parking lot, spans the creek. One of the reasons it's so expensive is it's got to be high enough to clear that water. If you've ever been here when the low water crossing is flooding, imagine when you got 20 people on that bridge and that water starts washing people off the bridge. That's a problem. Can't do that. So this bridge could be about 40,000 if we wanted to do that. We cannot do that. The vehicular bridge is certainly a more expensive bridge because you have to basically convey all the water. You got to get all that drainage under it and allow vehicles over year-round, no matter what the rain event is. So we know this was presented as part of the project. It is basically, because it's so expensive, we're going back and forth as far as a cost-cutting measure. The site, we've been able to get the city to approve the project without the bridge if we had to do that. So this is still kind of a working topic. We still want to get the bridge in. For those of you that aren't really sure, it would be on the north end of the property, on the north side of the new Parish Hall building, and it would connect by way of a fire lane all the way to the back parking lot. So you'd be able to just drive your car in a circle around the full campus. So, and it would provide a lot of benefit, so we understand the importance of it. It's about $500,000 by itself. And why is it so expensive? It's a bunch of concrete, it's a bunch of steel. And that is a bare minimum one, y'all. We've recently put in $2-3 million bridges on our projects. A little bit bigger, but not that much bigger. So we're still TBD on the bridge situation. Okay. Moving forward on the vision, who am I passing it to? You're up, huh? All right, thank you, and I'll stay around.
Shane, you're next again. So.
Oh, yeah, back up.
We kind of want to just kind of summarize a little bit of what Shane said. We are going to be able to move forward with what the ultimate plan was, to have a bigger space for us all to meet. As you can see, look around, all the people that are having to stand, we're kind of crammed in here. And, you know, with some of the events that we do, it's even more people. So we are going to be able to move forward as we planned. So we're very thankful to God for how He's blessed us with that. The one open item is the North Bridge, like Shay was just explaining. We wish we could do it all. We wish we could, you know, do everything that we hope to do. The North Bridge was such an expensive item that was one that we felt we could do the overall project without sacrificing too much with the bridges. Something that we're hoping to be able to still do, but we've got to figure out some ways, and that's being looked at. We have $6.3 million that's been pledged. That's an amazing number. Thanks to all of your generosity with your pledges. We have $2.67 million cash on hand. So that includes like the FEMA grant, money from the last campaign that was left over, interest. All this has been accrued over time so that we could start with really healthy amount to put towards the project before even having to take out a loan. The total cost, the 7.4 that Shay was just talking about, it's a big number. And like he explained with all the construction increases, we way underestimated, even though we had really good numbers whenever we first started moving forward with the project.
Excuse me, but with the bridge, is it 8 million? Is that without the bridge?
That's without the North
So
Bridge.
it's 8 million.
8 million.
Right.
Correct.
One of the bottom line things, and we'll get into more of this in a second, but we are going to have to take on some debt in order to complete the project. And David will get into some of those figures, but that's something that we hope to avoid. But obviously, with a project this size and with the unanticipated costs, it's going to be something that we're going to have to do. But this has all been discussed with the vestry, our finance guys who are like top of the game as far as our planning is concerned, have looked at the numbers, and we feel like we're in really good shape. Sure, I think we have.
Yep, that is me. All right, me again, sorry. Let's talk timeline. Everybody's curious, how long is this gonna take? So we are currently in final negotiations on contract terms with RJ Miller. We being us, the diocese, and RJ Miller. So remember, this all has to be approved by the diocese, and so we're should be able to knock that out and be ready to execute contracts in 1 to 2 weeks. We are shopping construction loans to different banks right now. We are financially in an amazing position to be able to go to current bank relationships and new ones. A lot of banks want to get into this market and want to do business with churches like ours. So we do have some benefit there. And if you're watching the news or reading, there's good news on the horizon with interest rates. So banks are already starting to adjust terms down in anticipation of that. Pre-construction phase, there are some things that, this is going to be an ongoing request for your patience. You know, the construction process can be dirty, it can be messy, it can be inconvenient. So pardon our mess for the next, 18 months or so, but we're going to be creating a temporary playground. We're going to relocate that. That's the September, October timeframe. You're going to see some ranges in some of these dates because some of the things we can go ahead and do, some of the things we have to get city approval for. So that's why you've got a little bit of a slide here and a moving scale on some of the schedules. But we're going to set up temporary playground September, October. Early construction activity, site preparation. You're going to start seeing some fence ups, some erosion control. You're going to start seeing some different pieces of equipment come and go. Early on, we're going to secure the site, and so you'll start seeing some fencing set up and some access will get restricted. So we'll figure out a way to make that as convenient as possible, but just be aware, you might show up one day and the grass parking lot might be closed, or the full north parking lot might be closed. So again, be patient, please. RJM will be on site really in November, could be a little bit earlier, but we're targeting November. Mainly because now that we've lined up so much of the contractor and contract items, the banks now have to see all that and then go through their full process. So 40 days to close the loan to get us going. Like I said earlier, we're very healthy on a cash standpoint. The more cash we have up front, the more we can cash flow ourselves before we pull the loan, which is great. But we still know we've got to go into a loan condition, and so we've got to start that early, even if we're going to cash flow some stuff right up front. So, okay. Construction will last 12 to 16 months. Obviously, weather is a big one. Y'all remember this spring?
Yeah.
So our projects in general were delayed 3 total months by just the first 2 quarters because we had so much rain. And so every time it rains, you lose that day, you lose at least the next day. And if it's been raining quite a bit, you lose at least a week because the ground is so saturated. So we are blessed with this beautiful property. We've got a creek going right through it, but it'll be a wet site. So when it rains on our property, it'll stay soupy wet for a little while. So that's why there's a big range on the construction. That would have been 18 to 24 months minimum if we had kept the projects separate. So major difference, and again, we're gonna ask y'all's patience. By cramming these projects all together, it's beneficial for the contractor for one, but it's also beneficial for us. It's just, we gotta all work together on the inconvenience of it. We're gonna start on the new Parish Hall building first. So you're gonna see a lot going on over there first. Site prep, like I mentioned, and then dirt work, heavy equipment stuff. So that's gonna be step one. This current building that we're in, we're gonna shut it down roughly May of 25. And we're calling it the long summer. I think that sounds, whoever came up with that, that's so soft. Isn't great? Long summer break. So just to RJ Miller is get your butt in here, get going fast, because you've got roughly till October to finish. So they're gonna come in and do the renovation of this building in that time frame. That's our target. So again, when you hear people talk about the long summer break for this building, that's gonna be what's going on. That's the renovation project. So, goal is to be back in this Parish Hall late '25. So, now it'll look totally different, and I know we don't have any of the images up, but that is the images that you're seeing that we've done, that's completely done. That's the clear story, big entry area and everything. So, really excited about that. Best case scenario, we're done Easter 26. Best case scenario. Well, and we say that, but we were able to hit, the groundbreaking. I was one of the first ones to be cautious about groundbreaking this year, but we made it. We got our approvals. We were able to do that, and we're able to kick off here soon with the heavy construction. So I think this is doable. I think Easter 26 is very doable, especially with the team we've got on our side, on the church side, and Father Jordan leading the way, and the contractor's great. He's really good. They know what they're doing, and they're ready. So really excited to do that. That's the timeline. Okay, who's covering this one? Back to you. Okay. There you go. Thanks, Jay.
Like we've emphasized multiple times, this project is more expensive than we expected. We tried to plan the best we could, and we did all our due diligence, I think. But in the midst of that, like was mentioned earlier, we received a $1.6 million request. So God blessed us there, and we had no idea that this was coming. God did. He's been with us every step of the way through this, and so we can be very thankful that happened, and again, completely took us by surprise. So Dave's going to talk a little bit more about some of the final numbers and kind of the rest of the plan.
Thanks, Scott. All right, so where do we go from here? We're in active negotiations with several banks, talking to them about what they need. We're transferring paperwork back and forth. For those, the banks that don't know us, they're asking a bunch of questions. So we have to answer all their questions, send them all their documents. And so the finance guys, as I call them, Les, Walter, Donnie, myself, and thank you to Carrie for helping us compile all this stuff and sending everything that we need through that. My ask of you, if I could ask you for one thing, is to please pray as you progress through this project with us. The sooner you can provide your pledge to us, the better off it is for St. Lawrence because of interest. Everybody understands where interest is today, where interest is going, but there's gonna come a point next year where our cash is going down and we have to start drawing on the loan from the bank. Because of the way the draw schedule is from the construction, we have to order the materials and all of those things. And so I'm just asking you to pray. I have to do the same thing. I got college tuition, I've got private school, I got a lot of bills to pay for. And so I get that everybody's in a different spot, but I just ask you to pray and ask God to guide you through that process. We'll be finalizing the contract with R.J. Miller, and then we're gonna start that pre-construction phase that Shay talked about here on the property. We're also in constant talks with Southlake, trying to get all of our approvals, all of our paperwork in, make sure we dotted all the I's and crossed all the T's, so that there's no gotcha moments where we're like, whoa, didn't plan on that, okay? So we're working really hard. Throughout this process, both the expansion committee and the finance committee will be continuing to work on costs. So they'll be working on the construction side, finance guys will be working on the banking side, doing everything we can to make sure we get the best deal for St. Lawrence in the end. And then from leading out of this meeting, we'll start putting regular meetings on the calendar during this time so that we can keep everybody in the parish up to date on everything that's going on. So look for another meeting in sort of that October, November time frame to get the next update as we kick off the project. Questions? Jay,
So,
how did I know you were going to be
I
first?
know what my wife felt like. So the first question is like, if we don't, do we have to lock the loan from a construction standpoint, like now, and then if interest rates go down and we don't draw on it, can we like you
So
know, refinance the construction
the
loan?
building, the construction loan is an adjustable rate, so if the rates go down, the interest rate goes down, if the rates go up, it's gonna go with the market. We have to lock in the amount that we want,
Okay.
so that the bank can go through its process of terms and conditions with us, so that we can actually get approval. So
Okay.
we're gonna have to give them a number that we need, and so we're probably gonna inflate that slightly. All right, if we need 2.5 million, we might ask for 3, just so that we're covered for any of the things that Shay talked about.
No interest is, you only pay on what you draw from as well. It's not like
Yeah.
you take the loan and you're paying interest on the whole loan. It's like a line of credit.
Right.
But you can basically, okay.
Yeah.
But does the contractor require you to go ahead and lock in the loan so
Correct.
they have assurance they're gonna get paid?
Correct.
Before they start? Okay.
Yes.
Actually, I had another question too regarding the, kind of, you mentioned the value engineering, and you mentioned the windows. So are we like going to a lower quality window on the place, or?
No.
Less room for the house?
No, it's actually, yeah, it's a better quality. So one of the design pieces was a wood clad, kind of fancy, for lack of a better term, custom window. We decided to go with a more reliable, more durable vinyl commercial window.
Got it, okay.
And so that,
Yeah, good.
that alone,
Energy.
I wanna say, saved us about 18 grand.
It was windows that.
And they're windows that were above 20 feet high, so all our high dormers and all our, so if you can stand there and honestly tell me that you can tell the difference between that window way up there, I'm impressed, I'll hire you. With 30, with both buildings, that's right, yeah, 30 grand savings, so that was an easy value engineering right there.
What are they doing to this building here, right?
As far as what are we renovating, what's the renovation
What-
process?
Yeah, what is gonna be in here versus the Parish Hall?
So we're gutting this building almost completely, down to the studs. Where we're sitting now will be our youth and nursery areas. We are blitzing the middle of the building to create a much wider and taller walkway, a pass space to get to the new Parish Hall. And then the far east side, or that way, of this building will have youth rooms, Sunday school rooms, classrooms.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
I know with the cost of all of this, and with the interest coming, and in the future, costs being more and more, has there been any thought to, we got 2 projects already, what about the old hut in the back in the office? Jump in like now? I think it's good that everybody has to have skin in the game, and we gotta borrow a little bit of money, because it pulls us all together. And I don't know whether that makes any sense now, but I've been going to that place for 40 years, and it's changed a little bit, but, I mean, I don't know, I hope that's not an unfair question.
It's not an unfair question. What we did with our original documents to the city, so 8 years ago, we got original site plans approved at the city that planned this expansion, but also planned the next few phases if and when the church is ready. One of those pieces of expansion would be a new church office building that would be on this part of the property, the northwest area, which would take over for the hut. I call it the hangar. But really, from an expansion committee standpoint, we were charged with being a steward of the church's money in our decisions towards how big is the project, the scale of it, the cost. And so we had to stop it at some point. My personal opinion is our next project after this should be church offices. We need to take that building offline. Before the city takes it offline for us. But we really, it's also we want to make sure the church has good financial standing after this project. And we believe, and the finance committee guys are incredible at evaluating essentially our ability to do this again in the future. And that's why we don't want to take too much as a loan. So I think it's a great question. Yes, the market will change in the future, but it's almost like school districts when they do bond campaigns. If they take too much bond money in one campaign, their bonding rate goes down and they can't pull a bond 5 years from now. So we want to make sure we don't do the same thing as a church by inflating the construction project too much, even though we have the need, there's no doubt. But we felt like that was a more appropriate next phase. And if God continues to bless this church, which I believe it will, then we are looking at that project a few years after we finish this one probably.
Well, I'm gonna be praying for God for another 1.6.
I like your thinking.
Everyone should follow Tom's
Like where your head's at.
Hopefully God rounds it to 2.
So with the loan that you're doing with the banks, you had a couple different totals really. I thought it was 7.48, and then later I saw 7.4. But then the bridge was not in there. So are you going to include everything as part of the loan, or is it like we may or may not do the bridge? I mean, it seems to me very integral to the project to do it.
Right.
But I don't know if it's been pulled out or not with regards to, the amount that you're gonna ask for the bank.
Yeah, so as we go to the banks and ask for the amount that we need, all right? The bank is gonna turn around and send back to us their letter of intent outlining what they're gonna be able to provide to us, interest rates, et cetera. We'll take a look at that and decide, okay, how much do we have? How much do we think we can afford to borrow when we convert to long-term debt? We have 2 challenges that go into that. You've got the debt that's gonna happen from actually doing all the construction with all the interest. We also have transept debt that is coming due in 2027 that we're gonna have to roll in somehow to that. So we have 2 things that are gonna come together. And my job as treasurer is to meet with the finance group and say, okay, what can we afford to do? Because then we're paying all of that out of our operating account as we move forward. And so I want to make sure that we are able to fund all the ministries that we do now. We get together as a parish family like we do now. We should, hopefully we'll able to have everything that we need to have without putting us in a position where we're having to have conversations about what we can't fund. I don't ever want to get to that point. And so we constantly meet and decide what's in the best interest of St. Lawrence, what's in the best interest of all of you for the money that you have given to us. And Walter, Donnie, Les, all of us take that very seriously. We are working overtime to figure out exactly what we can do to make everything work for everybody. But there will come a point where we're gonna have to make some tough decisions.
So is the bridge gonna be in or not?
But that is based on what we can get back from the banks, so I can't answer that at this time. The goal, I would love to tell you yes. I can't tell you yes.
Well, I'm just waiting, as part of the proposal to the banks, will the bridge be included? Will it be grossed up to what you really would like to do? Or are there gonna be things that are pulled out that you're not even going to the bank?
I think our best intention is to go ask the bank for what we need and then take a look at it. And then we'll make the decision if we have to pull the bridge out or not. I just don't want us to get into a long-term debt situation where we're burdening the church too much.
And while they're doing that on the bank side, I'm actually chasing competitive bids on just the bridge to see if we can bring that bridge item itself number down. Because if I can fit in some of the wiggle room that they're doing with the bank, then it's in. If it comes back way higher than we anticipated from all 10 that I bid, then we might have to cut it. I mean, then it's like, okay, this is a separate project, we can't extend ourselves that far. So that's why it's kind of 2 unknowns that we're still chasing, so.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, what I'm asking you, do we owe anything on this? All that stuff that we built, the old church and everything, do we owe anything? We
No.
own everything now.
Correct. The only debt we have is what's left over from the transept project build out.
So we
About
owe
$360 grand.
How much?
$360,000.
Okay, come on, guys, let's get the money.
I like how you think. Okay. All right, so let me just cut in real quick.
Super fast.
He's gonna want-
sit in vestry and on expansion committee meetings, hearing what's coming from the finance group, the importance of what Dave said about getting the money early. If we're able to reduce the amount of interest that we have to pay, that might be able to help us with that bridge project. So that's where the importance of getting that money in quickly really comes into play.
Okay, everybody, I know there are a lot of questions, and I'm now gonna be the Shay Kirkman and not get any applause by cutting this off, but we are out of time. So here's what I wanna say. This is not the last checkpoint. Shay and Scott and Greg and Mark and Lisa are gonna stay after. If you have more questions, stay as long as you want. Dave Hayes has to go usher, which is why he's dressed thusly. But the rest of the folks who presented today are here and can answer questions. There are members of our expansion committee that are in the room too, and they can answer your questions. So stay if you want to stay and ask all the questions you want to say. Ask. But before we go, can we just thank these guys for all their work? I'll say this, 15 years ago today is when I started working here. 15 years you guys have to put up with it. I apologize for everything I've done over there. But just, these guys let me sit at the table with them, and the quality of their work and their dedication to the Lord and to St. Lawrence is incredible. So I want to say thank you. These guys have killed it. It's been wonderful. It's been a true blessing to work with them. So thank you guys for what you do. Appreciate you. Stay after if you'd like to and ask as many questions as you want. There are handouts here. So we put together some of the salient points from this meeting in an FAQ document. And if you'd like to take a handout, Scott Hickman has it. Thank you all for making time.